wonder if we'll ever be free. We're going to sing. Wonder shall I ever reach heaven? Wonder shall I fly? Oh, I can hear them singing now, but I can't repeat it like they could in them days. But someday when I'm not hoarse, I can tell you, I can sing it for you, but I'm too hoarse now. Oh, I wish I could sing it for you.
Over me, and before I'll be a slave, I'll be.
And happy Juneteenth. Happy Emancipation Day. Happy Freedom Day. I'm here today to celebrate with you this uniquely Black celebration of freedom. Now, as I was preparing to greet you, I found out that the United States Senate just passed a bill that would make Juneteenth a national holiday. And I have to ask, why now? What caused the Senate to feel that they needed to pass this legislation now? After all, Black folks haven't gone to the Senate and said that they would like to have Juneteenth as a celebration. No, we have been fighting for more meaningful bills than that. So if they really wanted to celebrate Juneteenth, why not pass the George Floyd Act that would abolish and defund the police? Why not pass the Voting Rights Act that would reestablish the rights of Black voters in the South to go to the polls to cast their votes? Why not dust off that reparations bill that's been sitting on your desks forever? Now there would be meaningful change. And afterwards, you could then pass the Juneteenth bill that makes Juneteenth a national holiday, and we would honestly believe that you might mean that you cared about our safety and our rights. But this isn't what happened. We know that this passing of this bill was meant to divert our attention away from those serious legislations that sit on your desk and make us think that you're actually doing something for Black folks. Now, don't get me wrong. Juneteenth gives us cause to celebrate. And it's something that my family has been doing for as long as I can remember. And we have reason to celebrate Emancipation Day. And we have reason to celebrate and honor those folks that languished under the lash and the yoke. Let me tell you a quick story about my great-great-grandfather, James Harris. Great-great-grandfather Jim lived in Texas with his wife and his 2 kids. And they had their own farm. And they were making a way for themselves. They, like many other blacks, left the Deep South for Texas because they knew that Texas, as a part of Mexico, had abolished slavery. Now, there were whites that lived there that had brought their slaves with them, and Mexico was attempting to get them to free these slaves when the Revolutionary
I'll
War
be
began.
a slave. I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my own grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more weeping, don't you know?
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day. This is Ruben Jones from DP in Philly. Talking about Juneteenth. The reason why I celebrate Juneteenth is because it's authentically ours. It's black people's way of celebrating getting off the plantation. Physically, in terms of chattel slavery. We know we still got a long ways to go in terms of social and political equity. But the reality is, for those of our ancestors who were chained and beaten and tortured in the hot sun of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, it meant something to be able to walk away from those plantations. My family is from Alabama, and I grew up hearing the stories, and my grandfather had a farm, and I understand what it means to be independent, to be a provider for the family, to get away from the oppressor's thumb. So I celebrate Juneteenth as an acknowledgement of the resilience and the power of our people. And I know that some people snub their nose at it, saying, whatever, we still in this condition. But, I think that's a hell of a position to take, and an arrogant position to take, when you ain't the one out there chopping that cotton and picking that cotton and chopping that hay. So at the end of the day, Juneteenth is authentically ours, no matter what the Emancipation Proclamation said, no matter how long it took to come, no matter who delivered the message. At the end of the day, our people was able to walk off that damn plantation as free men, or as free as they could be at that time. So I celebrate you, I salute you, I acknowledge you, I honor you. I pour out libations for our ancestors who endured so much. And, at the end of the day, you could choose to celebrate Juneteenth or not. I choose to celebrate it, I choose to acknowledge it, and I choose to honor my grandfather, my grandmother, and all the people that sacrificed so much so that we could be free. So, big ups to Juneteenth celebrators. I love y'all. We are family. Peace.
We who believe in freedom and not rest until the killing of black men, black mother sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mother sons. We who believe in freedom and not rest. Sing it with me if you like it. We who believe in freedom and not rest until the older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young who dare to run against the storm. 'Cause to me, young people come first. They have the courage where we fail. And if I can but shed some light, I say,
Hi, everybody. I'm Jawan R. Thornton, Vice President of Programs here at Dignity and Power Now. When asked the question, what does Juneteenth mean to me? The first memory that comes to mind are those days in the summer, those long hot summers upstate in Syracuse, New York, in which my family would always drop everything and head on over to our family reunion. Now, my parents are from the heart of Dixie, the heart of the South, in which when you think about the Jim Crow era, having to use separate water fountains, having to use separate receptacles, restroom arrangements, and even being in classroom spaces that did not afford them with the same privileges or even educational opportunities as their white counterparts. This is a story that is ongoing, but more importantly, it's a story of the history woven into the fabric of America. And so when thinking about those times as a kid where we would drop everything and head on over to Alabama to go visit my great aunt, my great uncles, my grandmother, my grandfather, and every individual in which has had a unique experience in this thing we call America. One of the components in which was always shared with us was our family history during these family reunions, whether they were in my hometown of Syracuse, or whether we were in my father's hometown of Shelby, Mississippi, or my mother's hometown of Jackson, Alabama. And so when thinking of the overall purpose and what this means to me, I always hearken to the component in which I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, being my ancestors. I always think about the phrase in which comes to mind, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And so when thinking of all of these pieces that tie us all together as Americans, but more importantly, as Black Americans, when we think about Juneteenth and we think about our long march to freedom, there's still much more we need to break through. There's still much more that we need to address in order for us all to be free. Now, with that in mind, when we think about those soldiers marching in to Galveston, Texas, to share the news with enslaved individuals, which marked their freedom, 2 years delayed after the Emancipation Proclamation was orated by Abraham Lincoln. Nevertheless, that didn't change our resilience, didn't change our resolve. And as they say in the Black community, we were able to make lemonade out of lemons. And we continue to do so on our long march toward freedom, on our long march toward systematic change, and most importantly, on our long march toward being recognized as equal citizens under the full protection of the Constitution and the rule of law. I'm really happy to be here to share this with you all, and more importantly, I'm privileged and humbled to share my story when I think about those family reunions during Juneteenth yearly. When I think about those stories being shared by my great grandmother, or my uncles, my grandmother, my grandfather, and my parents. Each of them has had a direct impact on me. And as I start a family in the future, Juneteenth will mark a very special day, not only in our family's history, but also the history of our country, and also the history and legacy of African Americans within this land. Thank you.
Walking and talking with my mind. Set on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Walk, 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 talk, talk. You gotta 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 talk, talk.
What's up, y'all? It's Sahara with Dignity and Power Now. Wanted to talk a little bit about Juneteenth. As we know, it originated in the 1860s when slaves in Texas were told that they were free. And I have mixed feelings about this holiday, right? Because I grew up celebrating 4th of July. I did not know about Juneteenth until I was older. So I got upset learning about the holiday because I'm Black, A. B, not only am I Black, but I grew up celebrating a holiday that had nothing to do with me, that was celebrating the oppression of me and my people, right? So I'm very upset. And then 3, I'm feeling like, dang, we have this holiday celebrating the freedom of our people, but we're not free, right? Because we're still in this modern day slavery, as folks see today, with people of color being oppressed and in these jails, in these prisons, and being capitalized off of, right? And their family, not only them, but their families are still suffering, right? So I'm like, dang, how can we celebrate being free and we're not even free? But I had to take a step back and really analyze and look deep into it, especially since I've been really involved with organizing and the volunteer work and protesting and out here public speaking, right? And just organizing around these things, because I'm like, dang, like in the process of trying to tear down this malfunction that we call a system, right? To better serve our people, in the process of this, I'm just like, we have celebrated our little wins, like closing down the jail plan, getting Jackie Lacey out of office, and things of that nature. And it's like, it may not seem like a lot, right? But it's a little step to the bigger picture that we're trying to achieve, which is overall health and wellness and for our communities, right? So, and actually truly freeing our Black people. So I had to take a step back and realize, like, Juneteenth is a very special day, right? To the liberation and to the work that we still continue to do. Because it was one of the first steps, one of our first wins from many that have happened since that day, and that we continue to fight for and work towards, that we will have in the future, right? So, yeah, like, it was, Juneteenth has been definitely a journey for me, but I am Black and I am proud and I am blessed to be doing this work. So, yeah, celebrate our wins, baby, because we got a whole lot more coming.
The reason why buildings are burning is because this city, this state would prefer preserving that white nationalism and that white supremacist mindset over arresting, charging, and helping to convict 4 officers who killed a Black man. That is the reality of what we're dealing with. This is not just a few cops doing things across the country. This is not a good cop versus bad cop situation. This is Ahmaud Arbery being shot down by white men on the streets of Georgia. Breonna Taylor being killed in her home. This is in New York City, where we were until freedom. We were just in New York fighting the police officers who, in the name of social distancing, were damn near killing Black young people on our streets. This is a coordinated activity happening across this nation. And so we are in a state of emergency. Black people are dying in a state of emergency. We cannot look at this as an isolated incident.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See that band?
Good morning. I'm Juanette Colors. I am the founder and Executive Director of the Wildflower Project. We're here located in the Antelope Valley, and we are all about health, wellness through agriculture. And Juneteenth is a time that we get to celebrate our harvest in the summer and sharing our fruits, our vegetables, such as, for me, watermelons, all types of collard greens, mustard greens, okra. Those are things that I grow in my garden. And I also look at that as something that our ancestors would all together bring all of their harvest and share in a festivity of celebration of the emancipation of slavery. And this was a time for them to fancy up, put their nice Sunday clothes on, and come up and celebrate being free and having choices and options to be able to move forward. And what we've been doing in our community is having big Juneteenth celebrations where we bring out a variety of different types of artistry, from bands, concerts, musicians, singers, dancers. Also, people bring out art that they've painted, sculptures. We have vendors. And I also have hosted the Miss Juneteenth pageant, where we've had participants that participate in being Miss Juneteenth and continuing to inform and educate community on all of the history of Juneteenth. And as our community was a red line community, and still we see racism there, and this is an opportunity to inform community on what the meaning is of Juneteenth and how we continue to influence and to reset and improve the issues that we have currently going on in the state of the nation. So this year for Juneteenth, I ask you to get together with community, family, and learn the history, share the culture, and celebrate those who have continued to pave the way for us. And that is, for me, it would be farmers. We were the original farmers, and grow some healthy foods that instill love into you and that are also healthy for you in regards to vegetable wise. So this is a time to celebrate with family, friends, food, festivities, learn about our heritage and culture, and continue the freedom of being free. So happy Juneteenth.
Braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with.
Hello everyone, my name is Hilda Eke. I'm the admin and HR specialist at Dignity Empower Now. Juneteenth to me is a very special and sacred holiday, historically known as Jubilee Day. Quite frankly, it is Black Independence Day, really. Although I have never fully allowed myself to celebrate Juneteenth, knowing that Black folks are still suffering, still live in modern day slavery. But I do, however, recognize Juneteenth as a day of remembrance of the emancipation of our enslaved ancestors. That is why I am fully invested and intentional in pushing for actions that support Black communities. You know, I had mixed emotion after the passage of the bill establishing Juneteenth as a federal holiday. On the one hand, it felt like the harm done to our ancestors and communities was acknowledged, and also opens up opportunities to begin to engage in more restorative practices to heal and build. On the other hand, I deeply hold dear Emma Lazarus' quote that until we are all free, none of us is free. That being said, I'm hopeful that the recognition of Juneteenth, which is a major milestone, will serve as a reminder of the work ahead to continue to fight, push, and to abolish all forms of modern day slavery to all black folks in our communities.
But that's all right, because we said even before this happened, and we're going to say it after this, and after I'm locked up, and after everybody's locked up, that you can jail revolutionaries, but you can't jail a revolution.
Know you black and beautiful. Know you black and beautiful. All my people stand up. My black people stand up.
All my people stand up.
All my people stand up.
All my people stand up.
My black people stand up.
All my people stand up, baby. We gon' rise to the mountain high. Ain't nobody gonna stop us.
All my people stand up.
Unify together, got that power.
All my people stand up.
Unify together, got that power.
All my people stand up.
And all my people stand up.
All my people stand up.
All my people stand up, baby.
My black people stand up.
All my people stand up.
All my people stand up.
All my people stand up.
Words drop like bombs start detonating. Trying to bring love and hope to the generation. For the ones in the pen, know they steady waiting. I'm bring fam home cause we regulating.
There were those who said that we would get here only over their dead bodies. Well, all the world today knows that we are here and we are standing before the forces of power in the state of Alabama saying we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around.